Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Jalen Carter spat on Dak Prescott, and the Dallas Cowboys responded by making the NFL season opener an interesting and lightning-delayed one. Also, Josh Allen and the Bills are welcoming the Ravens to town in a heavyweight AFC matchup. And one of the best freshman QBs in college football is facing a massive test on the road.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Eagles had a bit of a rough start against the Cowboys after Jalen Carter was ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott before a play had even been run. Despite the struggles on defense without Carter, Philadelphia still found a way in their season opener. Locked On Eagles host Louis DiBiase reacted to the win.
But in all that chaos that was this win, there was the cool, calm demeanor of the franchise quarterback, Jalen Hurts, that said, I've got this. This game was a perfect representation of what makes Jalen Hurts elite. Is he elite in the same way as Patrick Mahomes? Actually, kind of. Maybe Mahomes is the wrong example. Is he the same kind of elite player that Josh Allen is, or Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow? Is he the same style of player as a Matt Stafford or a Jaden Daniels or some of these other elite quarterbacks in football? No. But just because you're a different kind of player doesn't mean you're elite. Jalen Hurts, or doesn't mean you're not elite. Jalen Hurts is elite in a different way. And today showed his elite traits. His mobility and his clutch gene, his ability to never get rattled, no matter the situation, is what makes him a great, now Super Bowl champion quarterback. I mean, for this team, again, to lose their most impactful player on defense before there is one snap, Jalen Carter tossed from this football game before they even played. For that to happen, the Dallas Cowboys march right down the field, score a touchdown. You might have lost one of your starting offensive players for the season, although it's a fullback. Like, that's a crazy thing to happen on the first kickoff of the 2025 season. And then Jalen Hurts marches right down the field and scores a rushing touchdown. And then the next drive, the Dallas Cowboys score again. What does Jalen Hurts do? No problem. You want me to get into a shootout with Dak Prescott if that's what it's going to take to win this football game? I've got this. And not only did he score 2 rushing touchdowns and was elevating this football team. Everybody says Jalen Hurts can't elevate this team, elevate this offense. He elevated the offense, he carried the defense, and he did it without the passing game really having success. And I don't think that was his fault. Like, yeah, you look at the numbers today, and it wasn't sexy from a statistical standpoint. 19 of 23, 152 passing yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 62 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. But I don't think the numbers not being up there were because of Jalen Hurts. I think A.J. Brown only got 1 target, and it was in the fourth quarter, had a reception on the final drive. Was he injured? It felt like Kevin Patullo was calling a very conservative play-calling game because Devontae Smith really wasn't involved either. They had that 1 vertical shot to Jahan Dotson, which was caught for over 50 yards. So I don't really think it was on Jalen Hurts. I thought he looked dialed in from the start, was making all the right decisions, was accurate, started the game, I think 7 of 7, 8 of 8, had those 2 rushing touchdowns, and nobody was open. Like, when you look at those plays that he extended, yeah, the protection was great, but he couldn't find anybody, and Jalen had to improv. He had to make plays outside of structure with his legs. On those 2 rushing touchdowns, on that 1 scoring drive, he had 5 scramble runs for 43. Those 2 drives. 5 scramble carries in those first 2 scoring drives for 43 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, which was tied for a career high. So not only was this not by design, it was not by choice, really. Like, Jalen had to do this. He doesn't always like to run at that kind of volume, especially early on in the season, early on in games, but he had to do that. And that's why it bothers me so much when people cherry pick Jalen Hurts' passing stats to say that he's not an elite football player, to compare it with some of these other guys like a Dak Prescott, who had a great performance today that has these gaudy passing numbers. That doesn't tell the whole story of Jalen Hurts. It doesn't show you why he's a special football player. It's why, some of my non-Eagles fans friends will roll their eyes at when Eagles fans use total yardage to justify Jalen Hurts in a debate against another star quarterback. But production is production. Jalen Hurts carrying you is carrying you, whether it's through running the football or through the air. nobody knocks Josh Allen for it when he's clutch as a running quarterback, or Lamar Jackson, or when Russell Wilson was in his prime, or Cam Newton was in his prime. Today was, again, the perfect representation of why, despite the numbers not always looking the best, Jalen Hurts is an elite football player. Again, he had to overcome the defense just allowing points all game for 7 straight possessions to begin this football game, losing the most impactful player on defense. Then clearly you were rusty and you had to wait till 11:30 p.m. to continue play because of a lightning delay. And Jalen was able to not only, again, score those first 2 touchdowns and stay on par with Dak Prescott, but then he put the game on ice. Like, that's a big third down in that final drive where if he doesn't pick up that first down, even if you hit the field goal there, Dak Prescott has a little over a minute left to potentially go down the field and score the game-tying touchdown. And considering how inconsistent, and that's putting it lightly, the secondary was today, Hurts' ability to call an empty set play and pick up that first down where it's him versus a linebacker one-on-one, and he put that linebacker on absolute skates, faked him outside, cut inside upfield, the linebacker slipped and fell, Jalen picks up the first down, protects himself, which he did a great job of doing today, and then slid. Like, again, I know the numbers aren't beautiful for the quarterback today. 19 of 23, 152 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But Jalen showed, because of his calmness, his clear veteran ability to win in close games against division rivals, in the playoffs, against great teams, great players, great quarterbacks, to be able to do that and to elevate as a elite mobile quarterback, that's what makes him special.
You can stay up to date all year on the Philadelphia Eagles by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Eagles on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up. 2 Super Bowl heavyweight contenders are facing off in Buffalo. Before we get to that, Caitlin Clark has been shut down for the rest of the season. The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. I got a lot of bets in week 1. I'll tell you that. A lot of lines that I like. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Caitlin Clark's sophomore season has come to a premature end. The Fever star announced she won't return in 2025 after a run of injuries, most recently a groin issue that kept her sidelined since mid-July. In just 13 games, she averaged 16.5 points and nearly 9 assists, showing flashes of the brilliance that helped redefine the league in her rookie year. Now, Indiana fights on without her, while Clark sets her sights on coming back full strength in 2026. The Dallas Cowboys gave the defending champs everything they could handle, but came up short. Our Locked On Cowboys hosts react.
There are no moral victories, especially for CeeDee Lamb, but the Cowboys still impress in a loss to the Eagles on the road. I am Landon McCool at the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and considering how the Cowboys were, or at least the Cowboys fandom were feeling about this team going into a Thursday night game, season opener in Philadelphia, the night that they're getting the banner hung, it wasn't a lot of high expectations for the Cowboys, but I think Brian Schottenheimer, made a statement to the league that this team is not going to just go quietly. There is a lot to clean up for this defense, and the offense certainly kind of puttered at the end of the game, specifically because of CeeDee Lamb drops. But I think that the Cowboys should be happy with the way that they played, the way that they game planned for this game, and the energy that they played in throughout the game, despite losing 24-20 to the Philadelphia Eagles. For more on this, make sure you check us out on the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
Over on the diamond, Paul Skeens pushed the Pirates past the Dodgers.
Raise the Jolly Roger in Pittsburgh. The Bucks just swept the LA Dodgers out of PNC Park. Made it interesting in the bottom of the ninth there, but Paul Skeens secures a win, puts himself in the up column on the win-loss record thing, and the Cy Young voting. Under 2 ERA now, 1.98. My goodness. This is Gary from Locked On Pirates. What a series for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They just absolutely dominated the Dodgers off the mound. The first game was an interesting offensive seesaw battle. The second game, a shutout by the Pirates. This one, 3 outs away from being the Pirates' 18th shutout. The Pittsburgh Pirates have the most shutouts in baseball. They also have the most times being shut out in baseball. That's never happened before. The Pirates have a chance to be the first team to do that. What a dubious and interesting mark. But tonight is Paul Skeens' night. He was brilliant. He really was. The bullpen just held on to keep it together for him and secure the victory for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Man, that's a high to be going into a Milwaukee series on. Are the Pirates going to play giant killers the rest of this season? Let's see.
And things are getting a little awkward between Bill Belichick and his former team. Reports indicate that North Carolina, now led by Belichick, has banned the New England Patriots from accessing the Tar Heels program. Scouts were told flat out they'd get zero access to coaches or staff and can only watch parts of practice. That is unusual in college football, where most schools give NFL teams at least some leeway. UNC GM Michael Lombardi even hung up on a reporter with a good luck when asked about it. Looks like Belichick's infamous tight-lipped style is alive and well in Chapel Hill. More on to Charlotte. It's a matchup of the last two MVPs and two Super Bowl contenders in Buffalo on Sunday. Primetime matchup. Joe Marino joins me now from Locked On Bills. And Joe, I feel like we've seen Bills Ravens a bunch over the last few years, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. And at home, this has been where Josh Allen has shined lately, coming off an MVP season. Why should Bills fans be feeling confident right now?
Well, Josh Allen, the Bills were 8-0 at home last
End
year.
of sentence.
You know, I mean, yeah, we could have ended it right there, but yeah, Josh Allen is your quarterback. You have a chance to win every single game. And so, you know, the Bills have beaten the Ravens 3 of the last 4 times. There's been some success there, but obviously it's a new year. Nothing about the past matters on Sunday night. And yeah, the confidence comes from Josh Allen.
What are the differences that you could see, though? Because this is a Ravens team they've made some changes and they've added some pieces. Jair Alexander, we'll see what DeAndre Hopkins can actually give them. But what from a matchup standpoint, what is going to give the Bills the most problems here?
Well, I think it's just generally Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Yeah. I mean, that's a hard situation to deal with because you have an unlimited quarterback in Lamar Jackson with that dude in the backfield, and it just unlocks so much. I mean, they averaged over 30 points per game last year. They were number 1 in yards per pass, number 1 in yards per run, and they don't turn over the football. That's a lot to deal with. It's just a dynamic team. And, even when they lose, it's close. I think it's 50-plus games in a row or 50-plus losses in a row that were less than 7 points or something like that for Baltimore. They play everyone tight. And so they present a lot of challenges for a Bills defense that has a lot of new itself. And, some of the biggest investments they made were Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi in free agency. Those guys are suspended for the first 6 weeks. Your first-round pick in Maxwell Harrison at corner, he's on injured reserve. So like your biggest investments that you made to help your defense aren't there for you. And here's the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. So it's just a lot of challenges for this Bills defense to come together and shorthanded in some ways against Baltimore in week 1.
In a way, is this the perfect week 1 matchup for both of these teams where Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, the Bills and the Ravens, they're going to be measured ultimately by what they do in January and how far they go. And so you could forgive them for not being super locked in the first month of the season, understanding, hey, none of this matters now. It's what happens in January. And yet now week 1, you got to come out and you got to throw that first punch. You got to throw that opening salvo in the AFC to say, nope, it's our year.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Lamar had Patrick Mahomes week 1 a few years ago, right? That's a spot that he's been in. And, the Bills have had to go face the defending Super Bowl champion Rams in week 1. So they've both been in these moments, but I would say both quarterbacks have been high variance in week 1. Josh has had 6 week 1 starts to this point, and I think 3 were really good, and I think 3 were really bad. The Ravens started 0-2 last year. And what's interesting is, and they were facing 0-3 in that Dallas game, but they were able to figure that out. What's interesting is neither team played their quarterback at all in preseason. This is the first time yet for Josh Allen. He didn't take a preseason snap. Baltimore did not play Lamar Jackson, and you obviously want those guys to be healthy entering week 1, and they are, but you also want them to be ready. Yeah. And I think for both situations, though, there's a lot of continuity with what they have offensively, so you kind of understand it. I mean, you're talking about established veteran quarterbacks that are, high-level performers. So you don't get that concerned. But I saw Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow playing in the preseason, and Mahomes looked really good in that last game. So it'll obviously be a narrative based on how these guys perform going back to, well, should they have played in the preseason or should they not have? It'll inform those narratives here moving forward.
Speaking of narratives, I asked Kevin Ostreicher this question earlier in the week. For whom is it worse to lose this game narratively?
Listen, we hype up these games. We do, and they're big. The Bills have beaten the Chiefs the last 4 times in the regular season, and they lost the last 4 times in the postseason.
Yeah.
The Bills got smoked by Baltimore last year in week 4. They beat them in the divisional round. So we want to act like these games are so significant. In fact, the Bills lost that game and still hosted the Ravens in the divisional round. It's like, yeah, but we haven't seen those regular season matchups dictate the other side of it. In fact, maybe the argument is it's hard to beat these teams twice in a year. Like, you don't want to lose in the regular season, but wake me up the next time one of these teams beats each other twice in 1 year. It hasn't happened.
Stay up to date all year on the Buffalo Bills by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Bills on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Oklahoma Sooners welcome the Michigan Wolverines to town. 5-star quarterback Bryce Underwood leads the Michigan Wolverines into Norman, Oklahoma for the biggest college football game of the weekend. Drake Toll was joined by John Williams and Isaiah Hole on Fire TV's college football kickoff show to preview the matchup between Michigan and Oklahoma.
Let's start with the home team in this big-time game of the week. Jay, can John Mateer get it done and prove that he is the guy, not just for Oklahoma, but one of the guys in the SEC?
Yeah, I believe he can. He has the experience of playing, college football. This is his 3rd year in the system with Ben Arbuckle. He understands what he needs to do. I think that's where the advantage came in for Oklahoma, is that not only are you getting a veteran quarterback out of the transfer portal, but you also get him paired with his offensive coordinator. So if there's teaching that's happening, it's with the skills guys. And in my personal opinion, typically when you get a transfer, the guys that are easiest to teach are usually your skills guys. The quarterback is the one that usually you kind of get worried about. Same thing with offensive line. But John Mateer is out there. He's a dude. He had his first game, and he looked like a beast. 30 for 37, 392 yards. He set a record for a newcomer at Oklahoma in passing yards. Beat Baker Mayfield. Now, you hear the Baker Mayfield comparisons all the time, but yeah, he's out there playing, and the good thing is, too, he can run when he wants to. This game felt like he was more so filling things out, and I think he'll be able to continue to do that going forward.
Isaiah, you both look like you could be in a great boy band and unfazed. Both of those things are true. Give me your Bryce Underwood takeaway right now and whether or not he can outduel John Mateer.
Well, that's the big question, right? We don't know exactly what Bryce Underwood is. I mean, you look in, he had 251 yards, 21 of 31 passing, a touchdown against New Mexico. But you have the caveat that it was New Mexico, right? Now, at the same time, he outplayed any quarterback that Michigan had last year and put up more yards than you saw even a lot of the J.J. McCarthy games in 2023, the national championship year. But the big step up in competition, he's going on the road for the first time. But I loved the poise that I saw him play with, the ball placement, the mixture of velocity and touch. I mean, Connor Stallions, who was his offensive coordinator at Belleville, told me when he left Michigan, he knew exactly what J.J. McCarthy was. And when he saw Bryce Underwood for the first time, he said, that guy is already where he is, but we have to see him do it. So that's going to be the big key. Can he go up against a much more difficult defense and still be what he was this past week?
Jay, let's go quick here. Give me your final score prediction.
Give me Oklahoma 25, Michigan 15. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than expected, but I think Oklahoma's defense is going to prevail only because we've lucked out at getting a really good quarterback only in his 2nd career start.
Isaiah, you are my fire, my one desire. Score prediction.
I'm going to also go with Oklahoma for the moment. I think it's going to be closer than that. I'm looking at Oklahoma 24-23. Michigan's defense, even though it didn't look great against New Mexico, I mean, this is the same defense that you saw hold Alabama to 13 points last year. I think it's going to be a really hard-fought game, but Oklahoma on top.
2 consummate professionals. They both pick Oklahoma at home. It's Isaiah Hole of Locked On Wolverines and Jay Smith of Locked On Sooners. Thank you both.
And finally, this is wild. The Philadelphia Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls in their history. Both Week 1 Thursday openers the following season were delayed by lightning. And they were good games. Something about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, maybe angering the football gods. I'm not sure about that one. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, we have the pleasure of recapping a loaded Week 1 NFL slate that you won't want to miss. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.